Well, sun is shining and spring has sprung, or it certainly feels that way anyway. Thanks for clicking on to the Wednesday edition of Vogan's European Outlook. We are talking about temperatures of 16 Celsius at my nearby station of Tain at the moment, but it looks as if Lakenheath is sitting on 17, and at the moment that appears to be a tie of the UK's warmest day of the year so far. That is likely to be exceeded, if not today, perhaps tomorrow. But that all being said, it looks as if we are going to take a couple of steps back as we move into next week, as we start to see colder air returning once again. These little false starts to spring appears to be becoming more frequent as we progress through the past few years. Anyway, we've been seeing these surges of mild during February and March, and then a return back to winter once again during later March and April. Remember June last year, we had the single figure high temperatures in the north of the British Isles during early portions of June. We've seen, I think, at least a week straight of every day recording snow over the tops of the mountains, for example. And I'm not necessarily saying that is what's going to happen in months to come, but nevertheless, we have the earliest major southern stratospheric warming, final warming, should I say, since perhaps 2016, and the consequences of that is possibly, not guaranteed, but possibly to lead to something a lot more blocky during the middle and second half of March, and that may linger on into the month of April as well. But a very, very pleasant temperature profile across many areas of the UK. I say many because it's not everywhere. We're actually talking about only 6 and 7 Celsius across southern Scotland, for example. Northwestern England, we've got chillier air here, but in the sunshine, with the help of 30 to 50 mile per hour winds from the southwest, we are seeing the temperatures respond very nicely indeed. Another interesting fact, by the way, 3 straight mornings of 6 below zero or greater has been achieved at Benson in Oxfordshire. So we've seen temperatures as low as minus 6.8 Celsius, but by afternoon, after coming off a minus 6 Celsius temperature yesterday morning at Benson, we've seen 13.2 Celsius in the afternoon. So it's at that time of the year when you've got high pressure in control, clear skies, light winds, see the temperature fluctuate quite substantially between nighttime and afternoon. And these are the current temperatures across the continent at the moment here. So you can see we've got some chilly-ish air across the north of far north of Europe, but generally speaking, we've got a very mild continent at the moment here. Widespread temperatures into the mid to high teens, anywhere from parts of the UK across Iberia, as you would expect, France, and right the way across much of the continent. We're seeing temperatures very, very mild indeed. This is how the month has started off. The first 5 days of the month, according to the CDAS anyway. This is globally. You can see a few standout things here. Abnormally warm across Alaska and much of Canada, central and western United States, cooler across the northeast and Canada as well. We are also seeing some notable chill across the top of Siberia, eastern Siberia. But also this area really stands out here, and this is something that I'll talk about in a little bit more detail in the upcoming live stream this Sunday, 4 p.m. as usual. You can see here unusually cold start of the month of March across the Middle East in particular. This is a close-up view of Asia, and abnormally warm conditions across central and western Russia, it has to be said, but down across much of the Arabian Peninsula into Iraq, Iran in particular, and this kind of Uzbekistan, Azerbaijan, Afghanistan region in particular has had a very chilly beginning to March, but it's actually been coming off the back of quite a cool winter overall here as well, which is interesting. In terms of Europe, you can see here that this is the temperature profile anomaly through the first 5 days, and a very, very distinct split across the UK. It really kind of stands out, actually. It's been a very warm start to March for the northern half of the UK, but it's been quite a cold start to March across the southern half of the UK, and we've got very mild conditions across much of northern Europe to start the month of March. So, coming up over the next, this would be the next 7 days, according to the ECMWF extended. Now, remember, we are going to see a sharp deceleration in the mean zone of winds. We're seeing a major warming taking place. We are going to see a reversal of those winds. And the consequence of that is likely to be increased blocking. That then slows down the west to east progress of weather through the middle altitude pattern. It forces the jet further south as well. And it is likely to introduce something chillier, and also is going to turn the pattern for the UK on its head. At the moment, we've got low pressure, mild, wet and windy conditions across the far northwest. We've got clear skies, light winds, high pressure dominating the southern half of the UK. After what has been quite a dull winter, one of the duller winters since 2000, it has to be said, but not on par with the 20s, 30s, and 40s. That is information that was given by our very good friend Aidan McGivern of the Met Office in yesterday's deep dive. I would encourage you to watch that back. Some interesting research with regards to high pressure and its dominance, and we haven't really seen much in the way of dominant high pressure over the last 12 to 18 months or so. Perhaps that is to do with the ENSO in the Pacific. Who knows? That is something I may try and look into in a little bit more detail in the coming weeks and months to come. But nevertheless, it looks as if we are going to start to see higher pressure building a little bit further north across the UK. Lower pressure gaining ground over the southern UK and southwestern Europe. We're going to see quite messy conditions actually over the next, the next several days here. Deep area of low pressure developing over Spain and Portugal, the Azores, possibly extending into the southern UK. We are going to lose that diurnal range, with the minus temperatures during the morning time, low to mid-teens during the afternoon. We're going to start to see the temperature change. There's been very little fluctuation in temperature the further north you go due to cloud and mixing caused by wind. But what is going to happen is over the next 7 days, you can see here the high pressure up over Greenland, much of the UK incorporated in that area of high pressure. We've got a deep low. We've seen this block develop here, causing areas of low pressure and energy to run south of the UK and Ireland. The air bundles due to the high pressure over the continent, that forces the development of an area of low pressure, and therefore we're going to start to see wind, rain and cooler conditions driving in here. Taking a closer look at Europe then, this is how the upcoming 7 days looks like then. We've got this area of high pressure, strong at that across the heart of Europe, extending into the northern UK. There's that area of low pressure. All this energy gets driven into an area where it can't go anywhere, so therefore it bundles. It then forces the low pressure to deepen, wind up, and causes quite disturbed weather. Quite often when you've got disturbed weather over Iberia, you've got more settled conditions, higher pressure over the UK as well as Ireland. But looking at the temperature profile then, and you can see here in terms of the anomaly anyway, over the next 7 days, this is how things are looking. Actually warmer than average, which is interesting to see. Going back to the upper heights then, according to the model, you can see here as we play through the next little while or so, we are going to see the high start to build up towards Iceland and Greenland. We've got this trough quite stretched out, across the Atlantic, extending into southwestern areas of Europe. You continue to play through, you can see that we've got this blocky setup developing here, and that could be in response to what's going on above within the stratosphere, affecting the troposphere underneath it. In terms of the temperature anomalies here, so this is the 7 to 14 day period, high pressure up towards Iceland, lower pressure down towards the Azores, negative North Atlantic oscillation returns once again, and this is very different to what we've seen, obviously, over the past 5 to 7 days or so. We've got low pressure up towards Iceland, Greenland, higher pressure further south. The pattern is essentially flipped on its head between this week, where we've got spring weather, and next week, where we're going to have a return to something colder. In terms of the temperature anomalies then, you can see how it's looking in terms of the anomaly. According to the ECMWF, we're going colder than average, and that is what you would expect to see given what's taking place. The question mark is how much colder we can get entrained. As that high then starts to build towards Iceland and Greenland, it then creates a channel for north to northeasterly winds to come around the eastern side of that high, that then builds and centres itself over Iceland and Greenland here. We've got that northeasterly flow. How much cold air can get entrained in around that high remains open to question. But that's the 7 to 14 day period. Let's have a quick look at the upcoming 30 days of the model, and just to see out of interest what it's looking like here. So it's kind of essentially showing average, warmer than average in the surrounding waters around the UK, if you notice. Looking at the other models then, just out of interest, this is how the GFS Extended is looking like in terms of the temperature anomalies for Europe. We'll go to the 30-day period, and again, very similar idea. Warmth around the UK, close to average, maybe slightly above average on land. So yeah, let's have a quick look then at the individual models. We'll look at the ECMWF in today's video. I hope you're enjoying the content. I hope you are sticking around. I do greatly appreciate everybody's support. 6 days a week content here on the channel. I am now taking a Saturday off. It's been a very long winter where you've had literally content every single day of the week, but it's a one-man band. I don't have other people doing these videos, so I do hope that you appreciate that I'm going to take a Saturday off just to kind of take a little bit of a break here, because it has been relentless over, during the course of the summer. Every Saturday we've got Tropical Outlook. That's coming back in the coming months. We're going to have a hurricane forecast released in time as well. Summer forecast obviously as well. And we're going to be building those forecasts, both the hurricane forecast as well as the summer forecast, in the coming weeks as well. So plenty of reason to stick around and keep subscribing to the channel. It, as I've already harped on about, it is greatly appreciated. So this is the ECMWF. This is how things are looking. Still very strong winds coming in from a west-southwesterly direction, allowing the temperatures up to 16. Could see 17. I wouldn't be surprised if we see an 18 Celsius in sunshine during the course of tomorrow, but we are going to see a bit of a slap in the face, especially towards early next week. While we're seeing these spring-like warm temperatures at the moment, we are going to see a sharp change as we move into the next week and possibly beyond. I think April could be quite an interesting month in terms of more high pressure dominated, but also chillier is a possibility also. So looking at the ECM then, we'll play through the loop. You can see that over the next several days, not a great deal of change. We do have a system moving in during the course of tomorrow. That is approaching the west. It's going to affect the northwest in particular. Still staying dry largely across England and Wales here. Continue to play through. You can see we've got a little bit of a decrease in the pressure field over the UK. So we're going to start to see a bit of a breakdown in the weather. See an introduction more to cloud and rain across the British Isles during the course of Friday. There's that area of low pressure as it comes up against that block. The resistance causes energy to dip south. Then it winds up because the air is piling up. It's got nowhere to go due to high pressure ahead of it. Forces the circulation to kind of deepen. And then we're going to start to see bands of heavy precipitation spiral around that circulation into Spain and Portugal, causing some rather messy conditions across much of Spain and Portugal. Would not be surprised if we see a flood situation developing in some areas across parts of Spain and Portugal during the course of late this week and through the course of the weekend. And energy continues to spin around that area of low pressure. But look at the change. We've got now a 1029 area high pressure over Iceland. There's that 974 millibar low near Biscay here. And essentially what we're going to start to see is colder air getting driven in from a northeasterly direction. So if we look at the 850s here, very different story to what we've got now. There's the colder air trying to come in from the north. Frost by day, or night, should I say, and single figure highs, I think, quite widely across the UK as we start next week here. And it looks as if the ECMWF is trying to maintain that northerly flow and Arctic sourced air through a good part of next week and beyond here. So certainly a very interesting situation developing within the entire northern hemispheric pattern, given what's going on up above. Stay tuned, like and subscribe, and I'll see you tomorrow with more. Bye for now.